All right, welcome back to another episode of Beer, Bacon, and Bros. Tonight, just Chris and Keith. We're hopping into our predictions for the AL East coming here in the 2023 season.
It's that time again, man.
I know,
I'm
dude.
excited. It's
I'm
springtime.
so excited.
It's baseball. It's go time.
I was astonished there was spring training baseball on
Last
February
week?
25th. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. Am I seeing this right? This
I
is
know.
In a Brave, so... all right, so breaking down the AL East.
American League East.
Yeah, American League East. Yankees, 99-game winners last year. Obviously fumbled in the playoffs. Shocker. Suck it, Yankees fans.
It's typical Yankees baseball.
But 92 wins for the Toronto Blue Jays and 86 wins for Tampa. Surprisingly, 83 wins for Baltimore as well.
Yeah, Baltimore actually had a really good, solid year last year.
Yeah.
They were solid last year.
I mean, Red Sox finished 5th in that division. Just to tell you how good the AL East was last year, Red Sox finished 5th in that division with only 6 games under 500 and 78 wins. So I'll tell you the way I think it's going to go for me. I actually think Toronto is going to win the division this year. Yankees, Tampa, Red Sox, Baltimore, but a very competitive division all in all.
I was gonna say I think Baltimore has a bounce, or not Baltimore. Boston has a bounce back year. They're not the Boston of 2018 when they won the championship.
Sure, yeah, of course.
But if they get Chris Sale back, as he comes back healthy, they added another piece. I can't remember the other pitcher they added to that rotation, but they lost Eovaldi, but they did add somebody else.
They got
Kluber and
James Paxton.
Yeah, and so Paxton, if he's healthy, big lefty. Kind of crafty, could help them in the long run. Big strikeout guy. And I actually agree. I like Toronto. I like Toronto to be there in that first position. It's going to be tough, I think, for New York to duplicate what they did last year. I mean, they still have some good pitching. They added Rodon, which is going to help them a lot. But I still think they just play in a horrible park. Yankee Stadium is just such a horrible park. You put anything up in right field, it doesn't matter who's hitting, it's going to go out. But there's just too many what ifs on that roster. There's too many strikeouts on that roster. Judge definitely last year had a much better year strikeout wise. He didn't strike out as much.
Right.
That could have been just because it was a contract year. People always play better in their contract years. But Giancarlo Stanton, that dude's going to strike out 400 times. In 600 plate appearances, he's going to strike out 400 times.
Yeah, I look at the Yankees and I say, okay, Carlos Rodon was their big win here, but outside of that, I don't think their bullpen got any better. Clay Holmes,
their bullpen got worse.
Yeah,
if anything.
Yeah, and again, I'm with you. There's really nothing that changes about this lineup. Not that there's anything wrong with the lineup.
No.
A lot of power, a lot of strikeouts. That's
it's boom or bust. It's boom or bust.
But I look at Toronto.
Toronto's a
Kevin Gausman, if he can perform great again. Alex Manoah is one of my favorite.
Alex Manoah was a good young pitcher coming up.
Chris Bassett was a big add for
them.
That was a great kind of third man now. Obviously, Jose Barrios needs to bounce back.
Well, especially since they brought Barrios in to be that third guy, and he wasn't the third guy last year.
No, he can't have a 5 ERA.
No.
But, you look at the rest of the pieces, they're top to bottom really solid in the lineup. Also, Dalton Varsho is going to really elevate them in the left field.
Huge add.
They're 3 catchers deep. This is the only team in baseball I look at and I say, wow, they got 3 solid catchers they can trust any single day. Between Varsho, Kirk, and Jansen. They are really...
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for them to go between Jansen and Kirk, because those two alone are two of the most... Jensen's probably one of the best defensive catchers in the American League now.
Yeah.
Since Sean Murphy's gone over to Atlanta, which we'll get into that later, but Jensen's probably one of the best defensive catchers in the American League now. So, and you put him behind the power of Alejandro Kirk. So you can either play him at the DH or play him at catcher and just switch him out. But Varsho being able to play outfield is a huge grab for them.
Yep.
Varsho had a great year last year in Arizona, and I think he's going to continue to have a great a great career wherever he's at. But being in Toronto, playing in some of those smaller parks, not necessarily Toronto, but some of the other parks they play in.
Parks in
right, they're smaller parks because they're older parks. And he's going to rake in up there. So I think that was a great ad for them to counter with having you have George Springer out there. You have George Springer. You have Vlad Guerrero Jr. Bo Bichette, who's an up and coming great shortstop.
Matt Chapman's got a lot of power. Whit Merrifield's playing second. Kevin Biggio is on the bench for them. They can't even find a spot.
He hasn't lived up to the hype that he had behind his name coming in.
Yeah, but I think he's a great utility guy for them.
He
Second,
is.
third, short, maybe a corner outfield. He's kind of the guy who can fill in. Yeah. But there's some versatility across their lineup. Varsho can play outfield or catcher. Whit Merrifield can play second or outfield. Brandon Belt is right now their DH, but can play first base. Obviously, if
needed,
Vlad needs a day off. I'm intrigued by Brandon Belt here. I want to see Brandon Belt get back to a 250 and 25 homer guy.
Be what he was in the good years in San Francisco.
And honestly, can Brandon Belt play a better defensive first baseman than Vlad? And Vlad ends up DHing the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto's in a good position with the players that they have, and I mean, I think, and they've got a really good closer in Jordan Romano. He's kind of a shutdown guy on the back end. I don't know who else they have in that bullpen, but
not really a bunch of names you know of.
I mean, Anthony Bass isn't bad. I've heard of Adam Simber's not bad. Adam Simber coming over from Cleveland. Adam Simber had some good years, but Jordan Romano being that closer is really big. I think Tampa is going to be sneakily good with their pitching. I know Glasnow just went down for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, that's tough for them.
With an oblique, but it's not an arm issue. So I mean that's got to be good news for them, knowing that he's going to be back probably about a month into the season. You'll get him back in May.
I still just look at this Tampa lineup and say, how did they expect to put up enough runs to hang around in this division?
But they've had that for the last 2 or 3 years, and they went to the World Series 3 years ago?
Yeah.
With that same type of lineup, 4 years ago with that same lineup. So I mean, yes, they don't look like on paper. It doesn't like shout out to you. Oh my God, they got some great hitters. But I mean, you look at who they have. I mean, they have
Yandy Diaz, Wander Franco,
Brandon Lowe, Wander Franco, Randy Arozarena,
Manuel Margot had a really good season last year. Guy was batting .330 before he got hurt.
Jose Siri coming over from Houston is tremendously fast. That kid can fly. So I mean, you get him on the bases, he's going to wreak havoc. So I mean, I think Tampa and New York could switch between that 2 and 3 position. I feel.
Yeah. I'm interested to see the young Baltimore team, right? You got Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson's out there for them. Cedric Mullins is obviously a key player in center fielder. Yeah. Anthony Santander.
If he can be the Anthony Santander of 2 years ago when he was just hitting bombs, then that's some power in that lineup. Yeah. But last year he kind of struggled a little bit.
People really big on Felix Bautista as a closer.
I mean, as you know, last year the is it Dean Kramer or Dylan Kramer? Yeah, right here.
Oh yeah, the third guy.
The third guy. I mean, he had a solid year last year. Their issue obviously is going to be the starting pitching. How far can it go?
Yeah. Kyle Gibson, old, inconsistent. Can be a 3-3 guy, can be a 4-9 guy.
Right. But I mean, he's one of those crafty left-handers. I mean, he had a good year last year in Philly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not washed up by any means, but I mean, he's definitely not.
He's right-handed, by the way.
I thought he was a lefty.
No.
But he's a decent strikeout guy. He's a contact hitter or a contact pitcher. So I mean, they're going to hit a lot. So what actually could hurt them this year too is the shift being taken away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could hurt them a lot, which we can go into a little bit later as well. But I look at Boston. I like them adding Corey Kluber. I like them going out and getting James Paxton.
Kelly Jansen's interesting.
Kelly Jansen with the 3.5 ERA save guy who led the National League in saves last year.
And they got Chris Martin, too, another former Brave. So
yeah, he's a good setup man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I definitely like what they're doing. They're big on that Tristan Cassius kid, the guy at first base. Christian Arroyo they really like. Rafi Devers, obviously they just signed to a major deal. And the Japanese guy that came in, their big get from the offseason.
Yeah, well, Rob Roschneider is also a guy that they've been like, keep your eye on, because this guy, really could kind of work his way into the lineup in the outfield.
Well, and another position that I really like what they went out and did was they went out and got Adam Duvall to play center.
Yeah,
I really like Duvall in Boston. If he can go the other way to the short port, to the pesky pole, I mean, if he can go the other way, that's great. I mean, we know he has the power to hit it over the monster in left field.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he definitely has the power to do that. But I just think that was a great ad for them. I mean, it definitely helps bolster that outfield for them.
This lineup looks very balanced across it. For
I agree.
For their lineup.
I agree.
There's obviously Rafi Devers is the key guy. Alex Verdugo is really great, but the rest of this lineup is kind of pieced together with some decent guys, and maybe they can gel enough to create a very balanced lineup. But I still think it's only going to be best for fourth. Tampa, if they can get a pitching staff healthy, could really secure a third spot, in my opinion. But maybe they don't. Maybe they just can't get healthy the whole year, and they fall between third and fourth as well. But
I think Boston's problem is going to be their pitching because they're relying on old pitchers. When you think you've got Chris Sale, Corey Kluber, and James Paxton, who's been in the league for 15 years now. I mean, James Paxton's he's getting
34.
He's getting pretty old. So
yeah, he's 34. Nick Privett's 30.
Nick Pivetta had a good year for them last year. I mean, I thought he did really well for them.
He's 30. Corey Kluber's 36, and Chris Sale's 33. Garrett Whitlock is
he's the young guy.
Yeah, he's 26. So
yeah.
And he's moving into a starter role. This is a guy that was a reliever last year. So
he's got good stuff, though. I mean, he's got some pretty solid stuff. I mean, there's nothing bad about him. Nick Pivetta is another one of those guys who's going to pitch for strikeouts. He's going to pitch for contact. So it's boom or bust for him as well. A lot of these guys up in that pitch in these parks are those kind of contact type of hitters or pitchers, so that way they can get the ball down on the ground.
Yeah.
And keep it away from the outfield. So.
All right. So give me your 1 to 5. Again, I'll go back through mine real quick. Toronto, Yankees, Tampa, Boston, Baltimore. Where are you going 1 to 5 for the AL East?
I think I have to agree with you on that. I think Toronto probably has the best team on paper.
Mm-hmm.
New York can obviously be that team that goes and wins another 100 games, but I think Toronto's going to edge them out this year. Tampa is going to be that third place team. I still think they could potentially go past the Yankees depending on their pitching. But I'll put Boston at fourth and then Baltimore back at the bottom of the barrel. But it's going to be a close race for that fourth and fifth position. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I think Baltimore's on the up and up. I think Boston's coming back on the up and up now too, since they've gone out and made some of these trades and these deals.
I'm with you there. So hit us in the comments. Let us know who you think is going to win the AL East. As always, we appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe.